Now that you understand how to give multiple people their own user accounts, in the case of, say, your household where you've got children and other users, or even your workplace where you share your computer with other people, let's take a look at ways that we can share files between multiple users on the same computer. Because as I've stated before, I don't have access to the files and folders on another person's account. Let's take a look. If I go to the File menu and choose New Finder Window, if I go to my main hard drive, which again, my main hard drive is Snow Leopard, your main hard drive is probably Macintosh hard drive. But I'm going to go to the main hard drive under Users, and I'm going to go to an account that I'm currently not logged into. So I'm currently logged in as the administrative user on this computer. So let's go to my Jane Doe account. And you'll notice that every folder except for two have this minus sign. And if I view this in icon view, you'll get a better idea of what I mean. Each one of these folders, if I try to go in here, it tells me that I don't have permission to do so. So I'll simply click the OK button. And let's take a look at how we can share files. So you'll notice that one of the folders that currently does not have this minus sign in the lower right corner is the public folder. So let's start by going to the public folder for the administrative account. So I'm going to come over here and click on my main home folder, and this is all of my files, so I have access to all of them. And I'm going to open the public folder. Now the public folder is a location where I can share files with other people. So if I make this window a little bit smaller so that we can see this, I'm going to create a new Finder window. And I'm going to go into the Pictures folder, and then inside of the Nature folder in my Home folder. Now, if you haven't been following along sequentially in these videos, you can also access these files from the Project Files folder and the Assets folder that was copied to your computer earlier on. So I'm going to close this for now. And so if I want to share a file with other users on this computer, what I can do is I can copy or move a file into the public folder. So I'm going to make a copy of this. So I'm simply going to hold down my Option key on my keyboard and drag the sweetgum.jpg file from the Nature folder to the public folder. And so now it puts a copy of this image inside of the public folder. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to log off and log in as a different user account to show you how this can be accessed. So if you've enabled fast user switching, you can click on the fast user switching menu and choose Jane Doe. Otherwise, you can go to the Apple menu and log out and log back in using the Jane Doe account. So I'm going to go ahead and log off and do a fast user switch over to Jane Doe. Now that we've logged in to the Jane Doe account, we can access that image that we put into the public folder of the administrator's account. Let's take a look. If we go to the File menu and choose New Finder Window, it's going to default to my home folder in the Jane Doe account. Now, that's not where we put the file. We put it in the public folder of the administrative account. That's easy enough to get to. We're simply going to click on the main hard drive of your computer. Once again, in my case, it's Snow Leopard. Yours is probably called Macintosh hard drive. Then we'll go into the Users folder. Then in the folder of the account that we put it into, which is the administrative account. And then finally, we don't have access to any of these other folders, but we do have access to the public folder. So if we open a public folder, we can see that there is the SweetGum image that we put into that folder inside of the administrative account. So if I double click on it, you can see that it opens it up and displays it using the preview application. Now I want to stress a point here, because if I make a change to this file, so in the preview application, let's go to the Tools menu and let's choose Adjust Color. And we're just going to make a basic adjustment here. Let's go ahead and drag the exposure slider to the right a little bit to lighten this image. That looks pretty good. And then I'll close that window. and I'm going to go to the File menu and choose Save. And look at that, we get an error message. The reason for this error message is that we do not have write permission to save this file in the public folder. Now, permissions are beyond the scope of this series of video tutorials. However, a basic understanding of what this means should be understood. So I'm simply going to click OK, and the bottom line is I cannot save over top of this image. I cannot save this image inside of this folder. So let's go to the File menu and choose Save As, and I'm going to call this image Sweet Gum Revised. And as a starting point, I'm going to go ahead and put this on my desktop. So if I click on this triangle and I scroll down here to Desktop, I can then choose Save. Perfect. And there's my file on my desktop. So let's quit Preview. And even if I were to try to drag this file into the public folder, it's going to tell me that I can't do this because I do not have access. I could authenticate as an administrator if I wanted to, or if I had that capability, but in this case I can't. So just hit Cancel. What I can do is I can put this file into what's called the Dropbox. So again, to help you to understand, the public folder, I have read access. I can read all the files, but I can't write to it. The Dropbox is a somewhat unique folder where I have write access but not read access. I know this gets a little bit confusing, but just understand that the Dropbox is a place that I can put files for the user to read, but I can't open it up. Watch this. If I try to open the Dropbox, it says I can't do that. That's going to be fine because I don't want to overwrite the SweetGum file, but I do want to give the administrator this revised file for them to analyze and take a look at and maybe use if they want to. So I'm going to drag this SweetGum image on top of the Dropbox folder. And it gives you a warning message simply indicating that I'm going to be able to put it into the Dropbox, but I'm not going to be able to see it once I put it there. So that's fine. I'm going to click OK. And now that image has been copied to that folder even though I can't see it. That's going to be fine in my case. So we can close this folder. Let's now go back to the administrative account. So I'm going to go to my Fast User Switching menu and choose my administrative account, and I'll see you back in the administrative account in a few seconds. Now that I'm back in my administrative account, you can see that my public folder is still open from earlier in this video tutorial. If your public folder is not open, simply open a Finder window and go to your Home folder, and you may want to list this in column view, and then open your public folder. So there we can see we still have our SweetGum that we shared with other people. However, I want to access that revised image. So if you open the Dropbox, I'm just going to switch to icon view so I can see this a little bit better, you can see that the SweetGum revised image has been added from the other user account. And now if I want to take a look at this, I can simply double click on it to view it, and I can see the change that another person has made. Now, this feature is not limited to images. You can share Word documents, you can share other files, and it's actually a pretty intuitive and fluid way of sharing files back and forth with other people. I'm going to quit out of preview, and what I recommend is that you go ahead and practice sharing files with other people on your computer to kind of establish a workflow that you might be able to use to share images and files between other users, including family members, so that they can access those files as